Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is your host, your friend Dharam. And once again, I'm here with another professional with lots of experience and exposure he got, and he's coming with lots of good experience. I will talk about that. And of course, he's already PGMP, and soon he will be PfMP as well. So, with no further delay, I'd like to welcome Deepak. Deepak, welcome to the session. How are you
Thanks,
today?
Dharam. I'm well, thank you. It's a pleasure talking to you again. Uh,
Yeah.
we've we've we've, we've had a bit of association since the start of PGMP. Thanks to your mentorship, I've been able to get through the PGMP quite successfully. It's been about 2-3 months now, so yeah. Thanks for
Perfect.
having me.
Now, this is always exciting, to welcome my guest and happen to be they are industry specialist or they have contributed a lot in the society. They contributed, in the organization, and now is your time to give back as well to your fellow project managers, program managers, and people from many part of the world going to watch it now and maybe later on as part of the YouTube recording. So. I'm very happy to have you, and thank you for accepting my invite. It was short notice for you, but you accepted it, and we're going to have a great session today.
Thank you again.
So thank you all for joining the session. I know you have been very committed. You always come and join and come with lots of questions and discussion. And yeah, please make it as interactive as possible. I know you cannot talk to me or you cannot talk to Deepak, but please feel free to put your questions on the chat, the question pad you have, and bring as many questions as you can. Let's see how many people can bring the questions. And I do have a set of questions which I will be talking very soon. And before that, we will talk about. I mean, first of all, I know most of you probably by this time know about me, but if you don't know, my name is Dharam Singh, and I'm one of the leading project program and portfolio management training specialists, PgMP, PfMP, PMP, RNP, and few other certificates, and happen to be on this journey since 2009. And as of now, as of yesterday, 381 PGMPs out of around 3,500. So it's just giving me around 12% of global number. I'm happy, excited about each of you going through this journey and passing the exam. And of course, it's a very hard work. A lot of hard work goes into this from people like the Deepak. You put a lot of effort into this, and you pass the exam. And for me, I take the all the credit. Hey, because of me, I got one more PGMP. Yeah, so the actually credit goes to the people who are really committed. So this is one certificate I can tell you. This and another PfMP. These two certificates are something will challenge you, and find the best out. I mean, the good thing is after going through the journey, you will find best of you. You are very disciplined and you are motivated, excited, and you're going to get the certificate done. Yes, I know lots of questions going in your mind or people's mind. Hey, Dharam, I've heard a lot from a lot of people about PGMP. It's not one of the easiest one, and I can tell you it's not the easiest one. But if you have the right mentor, right guide, right books, right attitude, right vision, everything has to be right. You will there very soon. So Deepak came to me I think last year sometime, and I'll talk about or we'll talk about your journey and and you are asking your some uncertainty, Dharam, should I when all kind of things, but I'm glad you took the decision, and I'm happy that you decided to come with me, and you got your PGMP on 9th of February 2022. So this is something great achievement, and of course you have to feel proud of that, no doubt at all. Any thoughts around your success?
Yeah, I mean, you introduced yourself very well. Just to add on to that, just the sheer number of PGMPs and PfMPs you've had under your belt just gives confidence for anyone who's thinking of PgMP certification or PfMP to come under your mentorship. In fact, that's what was one of my driving factors. In fact, my PgMP journey should have been it took almost 2 years in the making. Various reasons, family or work-wise, got pushed back. So I think I made first contact with you about 2 years back or so, but didn't really eventuate from my side. But eventually, last August, September, we started our session. The session went on really good. Was an eye-opener for me, especially because I guess the experience of sitting through a course session, learning, when you're involved with your day-to-day work, that's something that you lose. You're not a student anymore, even though you still want to learn. But in a classroom session, that was something new. After a long gap, I came back to a classroom session like the one we had. Was a good experience. In fact, the supporting materials that you provide are really good. I would say helped me a lot. The Pathfinder, the question banks, the videos itself, the sessions that you had in previous sessions. So that helped me go through the material in a very detailed way, in a format that's quite understandable to me. To be honest, PgMP or the PMBOK and the SPMs that we have from PMI, they're quite good materials, but to read through it is a very dry stuff. It's not very easy to follow the content after some time. You kind of lose interest, but you made it interesting, and thanks to your effort in putting together the training. One other thing that I would like to mention was the team that we had. You know, the four of us.
Yeah.
We stuck together. In fact, I was the second person in the team to actually pass the PgMP. The third person, of course, did his PgMP last just about a month back. And the fourth person is on track to do it in another week's time. So we've all stuck together. We are still in touch. We do our weekly meetups every Sunday. So that was, I should say, a blessing in disguise for me. I wasn't expecting so much of support from the rest of the team, which was a great thing to have. In fact, you encouraged that, and you kind of oversaw a bit of us getting into a sessions mode. So what was a really great experience. In fact, we've gone about developing a good friendship between the four of us, and I guess we'll continue to be working together or being friends for probably the rest of our lives.
Great. I mean, that's the thing when I actually give example of your group to everyone, because four of you were on the same group, and November last year we finished the program, and David completed his PgMP in December. He continues to stay with the group, helping other people like you and Grish and Sumit, and you got your PgMP in February. You also supported. So this is this is the culture I like to see. It's not about me. I'm here to get my certificate, but what else can I do to support my everybody together, hand holding, support each other. That is where value you're providing not only to yourself but to other people as well. So I love it, and I appreciate the work, and I encourage any group when I'm finishing. Before I finish, I want to make sure that everybody is on track, still together and continue to meet week by week. And that's what you said. You stay together, you build network, and you have friends around the world, and you never know what else is coming from that. So good. I like to appreciate that effort. Continue. So, guys, let me introduce Deepak. I know he already spent 5-7 minutes, but I have not introduced him. He's in Sydney at the moment. And Sydney was my second home. I spent 22 years in Sydney till 2019. And I moved to the United States just 3 years ago. And yeah, so that talking to Deepak, reminding me my time in Sydney. And so he's coming with lots of experience, more than 22 years of experience in telco, and he's coming with the oil and gas industry. A lot of program and project management work is done, and he has a master's from the UNSW, University of New South Wales, and he has done bachelor's from Connect from India. So what we're going to learn today is all of his last 20 years of experience and what he sees, the changes in the coming world. So based on his experience profile, we got some questions for him, and we're going to ask him. And as I mentioned earlier, you will have opportunity to ask questions to him, to me as well. It's not only to him. It's not you can put any question to me. Hey, Dharam, I'd like to ask about this and that. I will be happy to chip in as and when required. Or if we can't answer, we'll definitely come back to you later. But we'll let you know about it. So you have option to put your question on the question pad and chat. You can chat with me or whatever works for you. I have on the chat, I already shared 2 links. One link for anybody preparing for PgMP and anybody who's preparing PfMP. So sometime back, I've recorded 2 videos, and I've gone into detail about PgMP video is 1.5 hours, and you learn anything required to do your PgMP. Of course, you will see my but you see now my different look, my older look when I was old. I'm back in my young age. So in the PgMP video, you will see me as a old guy, old professor talking with a long white beard and long hair. I mean, it's still there, but anyway. And the PfMP, of course, both of the videos, I'm getting a lot of appreciation for that. So if you are preparing or going to prepare for PgMP PfMP, please take copy those links and watch those videos. And if at any time you have any questions, clarification, you can book some time with me. Happy to spend time and help you out with that. Okay, and by the way, guys, you will get 1 PDU by attending this program. And people who are watching this video later on as a recorded program, you can message me. You have to tell me that you have watched the video till end, and I might ask you questions. Some question we discuss here. Because idea is to give you the PDU only when you really watch the video and you learn something out of this. If you don't learn, then PDU has no meaning at all. So PMI expect that whenever we are as REP or ATP, we are giving PDU. That means we have given some value to you, and you learn something from that. So, yeah, please come back to me if you need PDU. I will be sharing the PDU on the chat later on. That said, let's get started. And once again, thank you all of you for joining this session. Some of the people are joining in the middle of night or early morning. God knows when, where. I've seen people waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and joining this session. So, and that's where it is more responsibility on me and you to give them most value from this program. All right. So Deepak, my first question, and and based on your experience, of course, you're going to answer them. So how can program manager handle the tension between cooperativeness and assertiveness within a project group? Is it making sense?
Yes. Assertiveness is somewhere where the individual tries to attempt to satisfy their own concerns, so to say. And cooperativeness is where he or she tries to it's more of a willingness on their part to satisfy others
Yeah.
Now, when you're looking at both in a perspective, there is there is a model that's I don't remember the exact name, but there's a conflict resolution model that deals with both these aspects: assertiveness on one end and cooperativeness on the other end. So if you're looking at a graph of assertiveness versus cooperativeness, you could say a low assertive and a low cooperative situation is where an individual doesn't want to take any responsibility, avoid responsibility, for example. That's one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum is high assertiveness and high cooperativeness. That's something like a collaborative approach. So and everything else is in between. So when we talk of everything else, it's like compromising. That would be somewhere halfway in between what we just spoke about, being avoiding and being collaborative. It's somewhere in between. Other examples would be like avoiding, trying to avoid a conflict. Competing. Some people like to be very assertive in a very competitive way. So that's one aspect of it. And another would be somewhere where a person is very accommodating. Now, often we come across this term assertiveness and we confuse it with aggressiveness. Those are two different things. Aggressiveness, obviously, we know has no place in project or program management. That's going to lead to arguments and overall deterioration of the situation. But assertiveness is when somebody is putting across their point in a very strong way, and again, a balance between assertiveness and cooperativeness is what is required. I mean, we can go through a few examples of how individuals can behave. For example, if you're in a situation where you're dealing with an individual who's physically or mentally stressed, you need to be more accommodative, where you can't be very excessively assertive in such situations. In situations where you need to insist on something or you need to be very assertive, say for example, in matters where safety or aspects of HSE, health, safety, and environment are involved, you have to be really assertive. Collaborative, like examples where optimized design is required. Clients considering something, you have your own ideas, you bring them together. That's way more on the collaborative side. And of course, there are situations where you need to be a bit more compromising, where for the benefit of the program or the project or the organization, you might have to compromise a few aspects. Look at it in a long-term perspective. Again, all these behaviors will ultimately be dictated by whom you're dealing with, and also you need to look at the consequences in a way. How is it going to play out in the short or the long term? So choosing the right methodology in a conflict resolution is quite important. So being very assertive and being very competitive, you need to figure out a balance between those I would say.
Very nice. Very nicely presented. Yeah. So you have differentiated both meanings and how you can use this into conflict management or conflict resolution situations.
Mm.
Fantastic. Perfect. Thank you. Uh, I'm going to ask you next question. How to define project success in digital transformation world? So everybody's talking about digital transformation, and there are various ways people see success. But in the digital transformation world, how do you see the success?
Uh, Digital transformation as such, uh, in a holistic sense, when you're looking at, say, organizational transformation, in my experience, in my personal experience, it's more about a mindset transformation, firstly,
Mhm. Yeah.
because unless the people involved, the organization, the higher management, the teams, everyone involved, every stakeholder has a change of mindset, nothing will succeed.
Yeah.
Uh, they might take up an initiative on digital or organizational transformation, but unless the mindset has been changed, they're bound to go back to what their old ways of doing things, which is obviously not going to help anyone.
Yeah.
Uh, how do I define project success now? In an organizational transformation world, project success depends on, I would say, three factors. One is people, processes, and technology. So these three factors decide. These are the three important elements of a successful transformation. So organizational transformation has to be firstly defined, the aspects of why are we doing it. That has to be clearly communicated to every stakeholder
Yeah.
before we talk about how and when. So a clear strategy has to be defined and communicated to every stakeholder who's ever involved. Getting the people, getting the team involved in every aspect is very important. Now, um, um, if you're looking at um, uh, some of the, I would say, some of the PMI uh, surveys, they've categorized the main factors that drive organizational transformation or the success in organizational transformation. Number one is a well-defined strategy we just spoke about. Number two is the right technology, and number three is the right project or the program management practices or the function. So these three are equally weighted. So any or all three are essential part of a organization transformation journey. And now involving the project management function, we can always say that uh, especially in my experience, a enterprise-wide PMO
Mhm.
is something that can very well drive a organization transformation function. Uh, and there are few requirements that I've come across which are absolutely required at an organizational level and at a individual team or a team player level. Now at the organizational level, uh, the executive team has to make sure there is a shared understanding of all the all the strategy that's defined. So, for example, everybody should be on the same page as to what is required and why is it required. Of course, there should be a leadership commitment, a clear leadership commitment, and of course they have to facilitate these processes by having the right funding, the right technology, as well as the right people to guide through the process. If you're looking at an individual or a team level, a smaller subset, we will be looking at a strong commitment from the team leader, a strong personal connection between the individuals and the strategy. Like there should always be a if I'm a team member, I should always be looking at what's in there for me. So if that's clear for me, I'll be well ingrained in the organization transformation process. And of course, there should be a means of addressing any concerns or any support that's required for the whole overall process to go ahead. So I would say these 2 or 3 requirements that will ultimately decide on whether the project is a success or a failure in a transformation world.
Very nice. Very good. Thank you very much. I do have a question. If you're okay, I can read it out for you. How to balance dynamics of projects with significant iterative EEF, such as in crisis, like environmental factor changes, like pandemic. So how to balance dynamics of project with significant iterative EEF? Does it make sense?
EEF as in enterprise environmental factors.
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
Environmental factors. Yes, like currently we have been seeing this pandemic situation, which has impacting lots of project program around the world. It has disrupted the whole world in one way or other.
Yeah. I mean, talking about my personal experience, of course, there are a lot of factors that are well beyond our control as project or program managers. The only thing that we could do is to adopt. Of course, coming back to the pandemic, nobody would have foreseen it. And in fact, we've gone through a lot of risk registers and risk identifications. I don't think I've come across pandemic as one of the risks identified anywhere. In spite of that, it turned out to be one major factor pretty much in everybody's life, I would say.
Yep.
Nobody could have forecasted, seen it coming. So in going back to the question, in my personal experience, so change is something that you always cater to in your program or a project management practice. As a program manager, that's a given. There's change encountered every day.
Yeah.
So in my personal experience with this pandemic as such, obviously there was a lot of changes in terms of resourcing, funding, and even a lot of people went in and out. Lot of iteration in my workplace. So of course there would be a disruption in the short term, but for me, I try to make sense of where we are headed with all of this. There was no, when we went into the pandemic, there was no timeline defined. People thought it's a 3-month thing. Turned out to be a year, 2 years now, more than 2 years. So just the planning process in my case, the planning process itself, I tried to incorporate this as one of the major risks, and I've changed the project plan in a way to suit further disruptions. Now, I don't know what more is coming my way or our way, but I would say the projects and the programs that I'm dealing with now are more tuned to take care of any pandemic situation that might continue to be moving forward.
Yeah, of course, we have to learn from the situation and we have to adapt, and we have to navigate through the situation. Whatever situation it is, as a successful project program manager, you have to find the ways. You can't just say to the customer or the client or sponsor, hey, we have a problem. Okay, problem means what? You have a solution or do you have options? And you need to look around, hey, do we have any option? If you don't have any option, you can't do much. But maybe there's option, when we had the pandemic, then we have to look ahead, get the team remote working. IT team is okay, everybody knows that. But making sure the remote working happen very at a fast pace, and everybody is like taken care and so. What a challenge, but organization has to deal with that. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to your point, in my case, the customer is also dealing with a similar situation. Everyone's in the same boat, so there is a bit of sympathy on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
People have been really out helping each other, supporting, even though you might be from a different organization. Even competitors come together to deal with a situation such as this. So there's always something good coming out of even a bad situation like this, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Man, only thing I like to advise people, and I've seen this happening. Yes, COVID has impacted. We have learned a lot, but that doesn't mean that becomes your excuse. And if you go some of the services, you say, hey, you talk to them, oh, we have less staff because of COVID. Hey, you know that COVID is going on for some time. People are working from home, and you cannot keep me on phone for next three hours. It's not picking the call. And I don't want to name the airline, but Qantas airline has given me so much headache.
I can name few other airlines, but let's keep it for a different day.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for the question, by the way, Arun. Good. Okay. The next question I have is how to lead, develop teams, and establish good communication, collaboration across specific functions, organizational units, borders, and even cultures. This is a very important question. You have a team, you're going to ensure that there's the culture of helping, supporting, working together beyond boundaries sometimes.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing two different questions in one. Let me address the first part about how to effectively manage a team, and then we'll talk about about the communication side of things. So effectively managing the team, based on my experience, is first to identify and reinforce the goals and objectives. So we need every member of the team looking through the same lens, so to say, and identifying objectives and goals in the same way that they're meant to be. The second point is set the right expectations. So if you have a diverse team, you need to make sure who's responsible for what, who's accountable, something of a Raki matrix, to say here's a person who's responsible, here's a person who's accountable, and so on. So that makes things clear. And the third is rules of engagement. So make sure it's defined and communicated to everyone.
Yes.
Let there be no ambiguity about that. And couple of other things I would say: use of say project management tools. We've got a few innovative tools these days: online whiteboards, smart sheets, and few others, a few communication tools as well. So encourage people to use that, and also drive open communication. So let there be no one in the team who's shying away, hiding away, or keeping to themselves, or in fact, on the other end, let there be no one hijacking the conversation, so to say. So open communication, and of course, developing a culture of collaboration. So that needs a bit of groundwork, but once you get there, it gets going. I mean, the process continues from there on, I would say.
Yeah.
And the last thing I would think of is a bit of shared leadership. Now that's a concept which takes a bit of getting used to. Not every organization, not every team is suited for that, but yeah, that's what I would look at as far as the effective management is concerned. For the effective communication part, first of all, communication protocols: who talks to whom, when, how often, and what mode. Those things, if they're well defined, that makes life easy for everyone in the team.
Yeah.
Again, keep the conversations clear and concise. So you don't want a team or a team meeting that's going well beyond anyone's like I would say people who have limited time in a day. So if you have conversations that go beyond a certain time, that's not what's required. And of course, we talked about that, providing equal opportunity to everyone to speak and to express their ideas. So these few points should, as far as my experience is concerned, should have an effective communication within the project team.
Yeah, perfect. Very nice. Good. Thank you. Okay, so now we got a good team and communication happening. And how is the approach to team building and capacity development different from new technology emerging? And different today with the new technology emerging. Yes, we have been doing the team building, we have been doing the resource management and capacity development, but what is changing in this new era, new technological era?
Right. When we talk about, say, capacity building, I look at it in two perspectives. One is at the individual level, at a team level or a team player level, and one is at a higher organization level. So for me, as an individual, capacity building involves things like trainings, mentorship, and so on. But at an organizational level, capacity building would be something like raising funds, getting more expertise from the market, retaining talents. That's quite important these days. Things like building on technological capacity, and so on. So those things are involved. So from the team perspective or the organization perspective, it's quite different to what an individual can do. Now, of course, technologies, they provide flexibility, empowerment, and a better workflow as far as individual is concerned. In fact, for a team, there are, in my experience, there are a few technologies that have recently come across, or they've been around for a long time, but with the pandemic, with the ever-changing situation during the pandemic, they were widely used. For example, video conferencing, mobility solutions, like the work environment we have in my organization. Partly, it's more of a hybrid structure, where part of the team is still working in the office and part away from the office. So mobility solutions, they've been around for a while, but not widely used before the pandemic, but now they are. There are a few collaboration tools, collaboration softwares, where document sharing and document management systems are involved. I would also mention things like survey tools. Now, this is more important from an organization perspective. The company or the organization wants to know from its employees how they're doing, how they're feeling, and of course, as an employee or as a team player, I'm also encouraged to participate in those surveys because I feel someone's listening to me. So that's one tool. And of course, trainings. I've seen trainings being. There's a fresh approach to training these days with things like augmented reality, more videos involved, and of course, you introduced a few wherein recorded trainings being used to augment whatever the face-to-face training that's already taking place. So these things can, I would say, go a long way in capacity development and team building.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tools available. New tools are coming up. Especially, I think there's a flooding of these tools in the market. Different type of Zoom has emerged very well to collaborative tool, and they're not only the tool which can help you to video conferencing, but that they're tools which can help you to manage your workflow more effectively while teams are sitting in different part of the world or working from home. So yeah, so I can talk about one of the tool which I'm involved in developing, and that is actually bringing the whole organization on one single platform, whether it's a sales, whether it's a project program, portfolio, organization, HR management, finance management, everything in one place. So that helps to get the analytics done better and to get the collaboration happening much better level. Document sharing and managing risk issues, single place. Why not? Okay, perfect.
Sure.
All right. So yeah, I will be sharing the PDU code in a minute. While you're talking, I will share the PDU code. But let me ask another question. So remote project management, which we are talking already, is already here. And before pandemic, now it's more. Do you approve of this statement, or whether it is going to lead more burnout at work? The remote work is okay, great. Yeah.
Remote project management or remote working is definitely here to stay. But having said that, I talk from as a knowledge worker, from a knowledge worker perspective. So it's definitely worked in my industry, my area of work. But it can't be said. Same thing about workers or the industries such as manufacturing or R&D or mining, for example, it won't work, or it might work partially. So we've obviously seen different ways of working. One is fully remote, where people, I should say, never see each other face to face. In my case, it's more of a hybrid, where there is an option for me to go back to office, work a few days. There is in a hybrid work culture or a work methodology, there's predefined slots when someone comes in, or the whole team comes in at a certain time, so they meet up, discuss some important things, and go back to their work from home or wherever else. And of course, there's flexible, where the option is given to you as an individual to come in anytime, as and when required. So definitely here to stay, but depends from industry to industry. Now the second part about burnouts. Burnouts are not something new. Project burnouts are nothing new. It's been there well before the remote working came in. So there could be various factors: work overload, extra overtimes, issues with compensation, for example, negative cultures within the organization, and so forth. So these were in play well before the remote working came in. So, but obviously things have changed with the remote working. So for example, if you talk about commuting, for example, obviously it's come down quite drastically. So for some people, that used to be one of the reasons for burnout. They spend considerable amount of time to and from work, which ultimately leads to burnout. Which is not there anymore for certain section of workforce. Work-life balance. So there is more work-life balance, I would say, working from home, closer to your family. So there are positives, and of course there are a few negatives as well. So one thing that's been talked about most is lack of face-to-face interaction. So if as a human being you don't see your colleagues or your fellow human beings more often, there is a tendency to burn out, as so to say. The second aspect, of course, this has been taken care by many organizations, wherein a flexible or a hybrid structure is put in place, so that people at least have an opportunity to interact with each other. I remember before pre-COVID, casual meetings, for example, around the coffee machine, or for people who smoke, that used to be a good way of socially interacting with other colleagues. That's no longer there. That avenue is no longer there for many of us. So that impacts us mentally, and in turn leads to burnout. The second aspect I've seen is the amount of meetings that we have these days. So because we are working remotely, you tend to see back-to-back meetings. So very often you see people or hear people saying, I've had meetings back-to-back throughout the day today. But then if you ask them effectively what's the amount of work that you've achieved today, people would hesitate to say or th- not much, I would say. So that leads to quite a bit of work backlog and hence burnout. So again, from a individual's perspective, obviously there are various techniques that's been discussed uh, outside about how to avoid such burnouts, about aspects like uh, reserving time for yourself and for the meetings and for the work and so on. So I guess it is a burnout itself is a multi-folded issue which has to be addressed uh, from different perspectives as far as the individual is concerned. So again, uh, one thing I've seen is there is a tendency for people working from home to be in a always on mode, which is quite wrong. So
Yep.
they they sh- they need to demarcate uh, time for work and
Yes.
time away from work. So that delineation is required. Again, depends on individuals' will and wish, how they go about doing it. I've got my own techniques, but it's up to the individual, I would say.
Yeah, actually, this is a very valid topic in this current situation. People are working from home and they don't go out, or and problem happen when you start in the morning. You see your first message, and you realize that it's a message from the manager and very urgently for. They go to the laptop and start working. Before you realize, see another message, another meeting planned, and before you realize already lunchtime, and didn't have even go to the bathroom, and you didn't have a breakfast, and you continue with that, and you were very well said that we need to have a clear demarcation, and we need to learn how to switch off the devices at right time. Put your device on do not disturb mode, and don't mute your lot of lots of WhatsApp group. You can actually mute a lot of groups. You don't hear all this beeping sound going on, and you can focus what you're doing, and focus when you're working. You're working. When you're doing the pleasure with family, it should be pleasure. Happy time with family. So yes, plan. You need to have a structure around you, when to work, when not to work. Of course, there are situations where you have to jump on the phone or jump on the laptop because the emergency situation, but these situations should not be happening almost every time.
True.
And managers should understand this, because most of you people watching today, they are project management, program management, portfolio manager role. So you also have a responsibility to look after your team, to keep an eye on your team member. Are they okay? Are they doing okay? Because sometimes they don't say, but your responsibility to find out how my team is doing, and is people are feeling isolated, people are not able to feel not connected. It can be just too much work or unplanned work. Okay, so please help out your team. You want to have a very high performing team, and that can happen only when you take some steps from your side. Yeah.
Very true.
Okay, great. So I have put the PDU code on the chat. If you're not seen, please see that and take a copy of that. And if somebody who is watching now and you're not in the chat, please, as a people who are watching a video, let me know. I'll send you PDU code. By the way, these PDU code are valid for 1 year from now. It's the 20th of April 2022, and I know Deepak is 23rd already. But these
Yes.
PDU codes are valid for 1 year. Okay, so if you're watching after this 1 year in 2024, 25 sometime, the PDU code will not be valid. Anyway, there will be other programs around. So, Deepak, I do have a few more questions, and we do have
Sure.
some time left, but let's see how much we can cover in May. If everybody is enjoying this, we can continue talking more. So, whether the team or individual need to be agile to improve project delivery. What do you think?
I would say both. To be simplistic, both the individual and the team need to be agile. Now, the criteria for this is what's central to this is what the organization or if the organizations put people at the center of their decision making. So that would be one central characteristic that I would look at. But again, agility as such, the agility brings about, say, for example, flexibility, collaborativeness, and transparency. So individuals or teams as such can incorporate agility in their day-to-day work by things like focusing on people relationships and asking questions, doing work collaboratively, or for example breaking down large chunks of works into small manageable workloads, and so on. So at an individual level, yes, agility helps. Now I'm not talking about project management, the agile framework or the waterfall framework, but of course there are aspects of agility that we can incorporate in our waterfall framework as well. But yeah, in general, individuals can adopt a lot of agility in their work environment, as well as the organizations or the teams itself. They can incorporate a few tasks that are I would say incorporate agility within them by having things like right structure or right infrastructure or right technology in place, or say encouraging collaboration, or more I would say encouraging team to have an open culture of open communication, as well as streamlining things like change management, for example. That can bring about a lot of agility within an organization structure. So yes, to answer your question, yes, both the individual and the organization can adopt agility in their work practices.
Yeah, perfect.
And
great stuff.
As well.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak. Just to somebody asked to share the PDU code. I'll share it again. So the PDU code is available on the chat. If you open your chat, you should be able to see the PDU code as a course identifier as well as PDU claim code. Okay. All right, Deepak, I will take one question which was given to us as one of the our listener here. How effective program management adds value to customer?
I can think of few value additions in my personal experience. So if you're looking at absence of program management versus having program management, in my case, my experience has been going from a so-called projectized structure to a program management structure, wherein like in a lot of projects that I was handling had a common customer. So it made sense for us to deal with those projects as under a program management structure. That helped us quite a bit of course, there are a lot of advantages to talk about for the organization itself, but from the customer's perspective, first thing is communication. So there were a lot of communication going back and forth between the project or the project team and the customer. A lot of it could be conflicting because it was the same customer. A lot of it could be conflicting. So a program management structure streamlines all of this. So there is less confusion, less conflict arising. That was one of the major advantages or value additions to the customer. Next is in terms of risk. So there were a lot of risk that were common between multiple projects, I would say, multiple component projects. So dealing with risk or a risk strategy that was across the program made more sense, and the customer saw value in that. So when the risk was actually realized, we dealt with it eventually at a program management level, and of course that meant faster implementation, and of course the cost involved was kept low. The other aspect I would think of is interdependencies. So a lot of projects have interdependencies which the project team may or may not see, but at a program level, because you have a holistic picture, you can see it. And when that's presented to the customer, obviously they look at it, they see value in it, and they appreciate it. So if you're able to track individual projects, log them, sequence them, and say prioritize them, and if that's presented to the customer as an input, they're able to appreciate it better. So prioritizing projects was one major advantage I've come across with the program management structure compared to dealing with it on a project level, project by project level, I would say.
Perfect. And do you think going through PgMP program actually made you more effective program manager?
Definitely. In fact, I was able to relate the concepts that I learned through what's there in SPM and through your course to my personal journey, personal experience. So that was a good experience to go through. Of course, every organization, every team has their own methodology of working. SPM, of course, as you know, defines a framework. How you implement the framework is up to you. So, of course, that was a great experience.
Good. Thank you. I'm probably going to take one more question, Deepak. I know we are already over time. If that's okay with you.
Sure.
Yeah. So one question: what is your understanding about shared leadership, and will it become new norm?
Shared leadership is, from my understanding, is where individual takes responsibility for achieving a collective goal rather than being imposed from the top. So traditionally, if you talk about an organization, that would be, or what would be the opposite of shared, hierarchical organization, I would say, where the top manager decides and dictates what he or she feels best. So, of course, there are advantages. Now, again, there is no one solution that fits all.
Yeah.
So shared leadership would probably, from my reading and my experience, it would work well in organizations or in teams which require high degree of creativity, for example. So if uh, if my team or my team's work is highly creative, uh, I can't be expected as a manager to dictate my way of working to individuals. So
Yeah.
that probably won't work. And another example of where it would work is in case of a highly specialized team, say for example in research and development or product development and so on. Those areas would uh, 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 they would be highly advantageous in or shared leadership would be highly advantageous in those areas. From my experience, it won't work in areas where a rapid result or a rapid decision making is required. For example, if you're talking about for military, for example,
Yeah.
shared leadership probably won't work there. So uh, again depends on organization to organization. Uh, it would work in, as I said, in some, but not in all. From my experience, a hybrid of a hierarchical and a shared leadership structure is what is best fit in today's environment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Definitely. We have to look for the what's best in this particular situation.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Deepa, I did mention that this was the last question, but I think there's one more question I like to ask, and
Sure.
I'm apologizing that I'm
No.
exceeding my time, but I think this is more relevant as well. So we're talking about the robots are coming; they're going to take over the human and everything, AI and machine learning, all happening. So how is going to affect the job opportunities for the project in the project management field? Do you think there's an impact on the project management? For the job point of view?
Yeah, definitely. I I mean, I would replace robots with artificial intelligence if
Hmm.
that's what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So uh, I remember seeing an article back in 2019, 2020 where I don't remember the researcher, but they were saying almost 80% of project management functions that existed back then, that was just about 2 years back, uh,
Yeah.
would be replaced with AI in this decade by 2030 or around 2030. But having said that, that was talking about today's project management function,
Yes.
not tomorrow. So
Exactly.
what we would be looking at is a new way of working, new capabilities. Now, AI can definitely do a lot of project management functions. For example, scheduling or forecasting or reporting and so on. AI is getting more intelligent by the day.
Yeah.
But where AI lacks is creativity or a human touch. So dealing with humans, AI is probably not good at it. That's
Mm.
where the project manager's function will eventually move to. Uh, as a project manager, when I started my career, I am focused on those what do you call those triple constraints: time, scope,
Mm.
and cost.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but what I was missing out is the human interaction, team development, or conflict resolutions, for example. communications, and so on and so forth. So as you know, that should be the main focus of a project manager, but
Yeah.
it isn't, because we are, as a project managers, we are dealing with the mundane task of doing schedules and resourcing and so on. So if AI is able to take over those tasks, of course, project managers will be able to do their work better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my belief. Uh, I mean, I remember uh, this question being asked in one of the organization transformation sessions that I attended. So
Mm.
someone was giving example of when automobile was introduced
Yes.
back in the early 20th century. What happened to the riders or the horseback,
Thoughts.
uh, yeah, the carriage riders. So they eventually found new avenues or new way of working. But yeah, I mean that's probably a crude analogy, but something like that. Eventually, project management or the project manager would evolve to do a better job as a project manager once AI
Yeah.
takes over the mundane roles.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, thank you. That very nicely presented. And it is, as I said, this is kind of a norm where a lot of work is moving towards AI and machine learning. And what we're talking here is a lot of repetitive work. As you correctly said, we can do a lot of scheduling, identify the risk, alerts, and budget tracking and all kind of things. Many things can be done by new tools coming up in the market. And I mentioned earlier that one of the tool or the platform I'm also working with one of my team in back in India. So we have built a system which is totally making the work. A lot of work can be done or will be done using simple tabs. The system will do a lot of things for you, and it doesn't mean that your job is going away. It's making you, as you correctly mentioned, making you available to do, what is missing in your current day to day. Because most time you're worried about your timesheets or you're collecting the data, which you're going to put in the reports. You send the reports and you have discussion. That can
True.
be removed. That can be taken over by the machine itself. Then you can focus on client interaction and team building activities, motivating your team,
Mm.
and eventually all this matters, because as a good program manager, project manager, portfolio manager, you need to have a good connection with your team, and that is sometimes missing when you're too much worried about your deadlines, too much worried about your timesheets, too much worried about your reporting. If that can be taken over by some machine or a platform like VxDCC, why not? You can focus more on your other activities. So thank you very much,
Well said.
Deepak, and thank you all of you to stay. I know I've gone beyond the time which I said. I have to be very careful with my time management, which is another thing. But thank you for keep staying, listening to the conversation, and I know the conversations were very interesting, so that's why you're there. And I'm happy that Deepak and myself were able to add some value to you, and like to see more and more people coming and joining this session, because I generally provide this opportunity to somebody who is, of course, my student and gone through the PgMP, PfMP. That's my my first target, especially the person who's really ready to commit, really ready to give back. And there's a lot of people are passing PgMP, PfMP. Doesn't mean everybody can or will come to this session, but somebody who's special, who has something to give back. So those people get the opportunity to come to this session, and who knows, you who currently watching now, you will be joining such session in the future and giving back to the community. So with this message, I like to conclude today's session, and I like to thank all of you to join, and I like to thank Deepak to make this session more interesting, giving the talking from the bottom of the heart, and you have explained a lot of topics really very well, and of course, as a moderator, as a host, I get to learn from my sometime back you were actually you're my student in my PfMP program. So while you learn from me, I get to learn from you, and people get to learn from you. So that's, I think, a good model to be there. And just like Deepak, there are many other people who already came and talked. So all those videos are already available on the YouTube. So you can visit to my YouTube channel and please listen to them. And of course, there's opportunity for you to earn more PDUs. And I think PDUs should not be the only motivation. Motivation is what can I learn from this new gentleman or the person who is coming with so much experience and expertise. And you never know what you learn from that discussion can make your life, alter your life for better, or make your project program even better now and in future. So keep listening, keep learning, and that's one of the advantage you have is a remote learning, remote working, because you have more time for yourself. Find ways. Hey, I can use some LinkedIn courses or some PgMP PfMP courses. You can contact me. I will be more than happy to help you out with the Scale Agile, with the RMP, risk management, or any other training programs, DA certificates. So anyway, enough about me and my program. And if you like to talk to me, please book some time with me. The time is free. It's not that I'm very free. I'm very, very busy. But if you have booked time with me, the time is for you. Whether you take my program or not, you just come and ask me questions or discuss with me. I love to help you out as much as I can. And I'm sure Deepak is also available to answer your questions. So please join or invite Deepak to your network. And you never know. You may be inviting Deepak for a job, or Deepak may be calling you for a job, or maybe some business opportunities. So please, guys, use this LinkedIn opportunity or linking opportunity, networking opportunity to build your network to the right people. And you never know who can be your next, what you call motivational factor, inspiration for you. Deepak, any last words?
Just to add to Dharam's talk, when I started my PgMP journey, one thing that I lacked was motivation. So there was a definite drive in me, but there was a lack of motivation. So thanks to you, Dharam, you put in that motivation factor in me, and that's continued today. Of course, after I finished my PgMP, I quickly jumped onto the PfMP course, which we are going through together now.
Yeah.
So thanks to you. So if anyone in your group or the extended group he is thinking of PgMP, PfMP, or any other certification, lacking a bit of motivation, definitely Dharam is the person to talk to. He'll definitely get you motivated.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Thanks for the continued mentorship since then.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for opting me as your mentor. Of course, there are so many people say that they're mentor, but you opted me, and that's honor to me. So thank you. And once again, thank you for spending time sparing or talking about your experience. And a lot of people have learned, and I'm getting a lot of feedback on the question ad. They are appreciating your kind work. So thank you, guys. So I will see you very soon again with another expert, and a lot to learn. So keep learning. There's no limit to learn. So till that time, thank you very much, and take care, and look after yourself and your family. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.